Coach Corey Wayne, and this is my video coaching newsletter. And the topic of today's newsletter is going to be the purpose of the maybe date. Well, I've actually got an email here from a woman. I've actually done probably 2, maybe 3 of her emails over the past year where I've actually talked about them in videos. And so you get to see from a woman's perspective of how she goes about screening guys out, so she can determine which guys are alpha, which guys have their shit together, and which guys are pretty much like the rest of the herd. And so she's got a good success story where she talks about the guy that she's dating now and she's with, but you really get to see some insight on how a woman's mind thinks and how they go about screening out the good ones from the bad ones, so to speak. So I have a quote that I wrote on this topic, and then we're going to go through her email. And the quote says, "When a woman is not really that interested in you, or she has other guys she would rather go out with, she often will tell you maybe when you try asking her out for a date. Why? She wants to keep you in backup position in case the guy she really likes becomes available to see her. Therefore, never agree to a maybe date with anyone. The self-respecting and self-loving thing to do is to decline a maybe date and tell the other person that unless they are willing to make definite plans, you're going to pass and do it some other time. Tell them to get in touch with you once they figure out their schedule. They'll either make definite plans or let you walk. If they let you walk, they really weren't that interested in you anyway." So let's go through her email. And she says, "Hey Corey, what I really want to do is let you know that your stuff works even for women. I've written you before and you were right about me and pegged me to a T on what kind of woman I am. The advice you gave me from one of my letters I wrote you before was dead on and you were right. I've always had many men at my beck and call. I have always made several maybe dates with men to get the best deal before I go out with one on Saturday night or something." So she's hedging her bets. So in other words, a guy that's the strongest one, has his shit together, that she thinks is she's gonna have the most fun with, and is not gonna turn into a needy, insecure, control freak, abusive jackass, is the guy that's gonna actually get the date with her. In other words, a guy that stands up for himself and sets himself apart from the other 2 compliant beta males that are in big time abundance. She says, "I finally found a man who stands up to me. He does not and did not let me make him a maybe date. He said he was too busy to wait around as a maybe." Interesting. She said, "I'm a girl who never calls men back. I'm a girl with emotional control who can walk away from anyone and anything and not look back. When you read my letter on one of your videos in the past, you stated I was seeking what I was seeking or dying for was an alpha male, and if I ever found one, it would change my views. Well, I did, and it does. I met a man about 3 years ago at a function, but nothing ever came of it. A couple of weeks ago, out of the blue, he sent me an email. Just to be nice, I responded to it. Notice that she responds. Why did she respond? Because she was interested. That's the important thing here. You're going to see this guy does a little bit of pursuing when he's kind of getting blown off and doing things that I don't teach. But the interesting thing is that from his perspective, it's like he hits the ball over the net and she actually does hit the ball back. That communicates that she's really interested. Now, the average guy, when the woman doesn't respond in what he thinks is a timely manner, he keeps hitting balls over the tennis net, keeps calling her, keeps pursuing, trying to make something happen. She says, just to be nice, I responded to it and told him that I didn't remember him. Obviously she did. She says he asked for my phone number to call and I gave it to him. This man sent me a text one night and I responded by just saying hi, and we texted a couple of times and that was pretty much it. Point being is she's participating in the back and forth here. She says, I kind of ignored him after that, which is what I do. So I get a text one day from him telling me that he would really like to meet me if I was interested. I totally blew it off. Totally blew off what he said and sent a few smiley faces, and that was it. So here she's testing his strength. So he's trying to ask her out, and what does she do? She doesn't answer the question. She changes the subject. And you guys, when you're dating women, especially if her attraction is low or she has lots of choices and she's trying to decide who to weed out, that's why it's so important. I talk about this all the time, how to be direct, be decisive, stay on task, and make the date. If you're calling or texting a woman, your goal before that conversation ends is to set a definite date. The average guy, when a woman does this, it goes nowhere and he just chit-chats back and forth. But a guy who's got his shit together is going to stay on point, is going to stay on task, and he's going to get this resolved. She's either going to make a date or she's going to be unavailable. It's going to be one of the two. He's not going to let things be up in the air, and women tend to do this. It's all a test of your strength to see what you're made of. Women that have lots of choices, this is how they determine who they're going to go out with. And if you can pass these little subtle tests that the average guy doesn't know any better, he doesn't think this is a big deal. He's just happy that she's talking to him. But the average woman, especially the attractive woman who has got lots of options, she's trying to weed out the weak guys. She says, a few days later, he sent me another text telling me he would love to meet me, and when could I meet up? Notice he's direct, he's decisive, he gets right to the fucking point. I once again ignored the question and sent him stupid crap that had nothing to do with anything. I was basically blowing him off again, and he knew it. Then one night I was bored, so I sent him a text with stupid smiley faces and stuff like that, but never said any words. He never responded. Notice how he tried to make a date, and then she just sends a random text days later about nothing. You've probably heard me say this many times in other videos. When women reach out, you should assume that they want to see you and make a date. And what is she doing? She's reaching out, she's thinking about him, and she's sending him stupid smiley faces. Why? Because she's expecting him to be the fucking man and know what to do with that and to make a date. Again, that's why I like this email, because you get to see what a woman is going through, what she's thinking, what's going on in her noodles, so to speak. She continues on. Then a couple of days later, he calls me to ask me when I can meet up because he wants to meet me. Notice how he didn't respond to that text at all. She sends him a nonsensical text, and he's already tried on 2 separate occasions to make a date, and she doesn't do it. So he ignores the BS text. That's his way of how he's getting the power back. Because when he does that, it causes her attraction level to grow, even if she says or claims that she doesn't like him. She says, I told him I would think about it and get back to him if I was interested. She says, what happened next is what really threw me off guard. He told me that I don't need to think about anything. I either want to meet him or I don't. This guy's cutting right through the fucking bullshit. He stated that he was not looking for a texting pen pal. I wonder if he's been following my work. Then he asked me when I was available to meet. Again, he zeroes right in on his target, exactly what he wants. He wants a fucking date. He's got a one-track mind. He's seeing things from the end. He's doing what he wants to do. He's focusing, just like James Bond, on what he wants to happen. She continues on. He had me on the phone, so I felt trapped, but I also felt this dominance in that he was secure with himself through the phone with talking to him, so I set a date with him. Men would always just say, okay, get back to me when you can, but I never did because I could feel he would be another man I could walk all over. I set a date with this man, but 2 days before the date, I sent him a text telling him I wanted to cancel and asked if I could reschedule. Well, notice she's bringing up rescheduling. The reason she's bringing up rescheduling is because she's not trying to say I'm not interested at all. She's bringing up the reschedule because she would like to see him. That's really important to pay attention to those things. Women who really like you but something came up, they'll bring up rescheduling. Women who really couldn't give a flying fuck about you, they'll cancel and like, oh gosh, I'm so sorry. Don't be mad at me. She says, I wanted to cancel because I was scared to death to finally meet a man who wasn't going to be a maybe doormat waiting around for me. I could feel that he was different. Notice she says, I could feel that he was different. Remember, women are emotional beings. I talk about all the time, and also in my book. I could feel that he was different, and it really scared the hell out of me, but it also excited me. He did not text me back like most men do. He called me on the phone instead, which most men won't do. That communicates a lot of confidence. He wanted to know why I was canceling, and I gave him some lame excuse, and he knew that that was not the real reason. Then he comes out and tells me I would have to use that line on someone else. Fuck, this guy's got his shit together, man. Because it's been 3 years since she met him, so obviously, if nothing happened in the past 3 years, that tells me something has happened within him, that he's made some changes. Because she blew him off in years past, and it, just like she said, it never went anywhere. And so this time around, something is distinctly different with this guy. This shocked the heck out of me. In fact, I was totally speechless. And she puts in big bold letters, "No man has ever confronted me or stood up to my bullshit like this man. He never once got angry with me, but he was firm with me that he was not going to deal with this and maybe that." While on the phone, he asked me when I wanted to reschedule. Direct, decisive, getting right to the fucking point. He's focused like a fucking laser beam on what he wants. And he wants her and him together on a date. That's all he's interested in. He ain't interested in all this other BS, this fucking bullshit about maybe, maybe not crap. He wants a date or he ain't got fucking time to waste. I told him I would think about it and let him know. When a woman says I'll think about it, it means no. He told me that that was not acceptable, and I did know if I wanted to meet or not, so he wanted an answer. This fucking guy's good. I said Saturday night sometime. Sometime. She's like going out of her way to be vague. He said he wanted to confirm a place and a time because he was busy. He said Saturday night sometime was not acceptable, and he wanted an exact time I would meet him and expected me to be there. This guy is strong like bull. This statement was a shocker to me, so he gave me a place to meet him, and I gave him a firm time I would be there. This was all set up, but I was still scared to death to have a man who was finally standing up to me. About 100 times I wanted to send him a text canceling, but I didn't. Because you couldn't help it. You liked his strength. You liked the fact that he didn't put up with your bullshit. He cut right through it like a knife through fucking butter. Like a hot knife through butter, for that matter. So the night comes and I'm supposed to meet him. I was so scared and nervous and wanted to cancel. I called him and asked if we could just meet at his house instead of where we originally planned. Plus, I wanted someplace quiet, and the place we were going to meet I knew was noisy. In other words, she's like, let's just cut right through the bullshit and get down to fucking. I was afraid I would not like him, so I told him I would only meet for less than an hour to see if there was an attraction and if there we could meet again, but I was not staying. In other words, we're going to have sex just as long as you don't talk me out of it. The night came for us to meet, and I called him to cancel because I was so nervous and scared, but when I called him, and he said he was looking forward to seeing me and had picked up the drinks, I played it off and told him that my directions were off, and I asked if I could get them again. Notice his attitude. What is he thinking? He's excited to see her. He's thinking from the end. There is no doubt in his mind that she wants to see him. Now, a guy that's in a fearful state would be going, is there something wrong? Are you not going to come tonight? But instead, he's like, I'm looking forward to seeing you. This is going to be great. That's his attitude. He's thinking from the end. She's coming to his place. She's coming to come. He gave them to me and then told me he would see me in a little bit. I was originally calling to cancel on him, and I've canceled on many men lots of times at the last minute and never contacted them again, even if they contacted me. Pretty much, I was a bitch who just didn't care. I had been a nervous wreck over really wanting to cancel the date, but I knew this would be my last chance with this man. Corey, it was attraction at first sight for me, or lust or something, but when I saw this man and started talking to him, I felt a rush of adrenaline and excitement all at the same time. I knew unless he kicked me out, I would be there longer than an hour. You betcha. Corey, this man is so different than all the other men I have met. So he definitely has the alpha male traits. I actually respect him. If a woman doesn't respect you, she will never love you. We chatted for a little bit, then sat on the couch and talked. I asked him while we were sitting on his couch if I could lay down. At first, I laid down facing away from him, but then I turned around without asking him and put my head on his lap. Did something pop up? I was the one moving closer to him. I wasn't nervous anymore. Notice she felt safe and comfortable. That's a compliment to him. She's moving closer to receive his strength. Notice how she goes right to his house on the first date. She felt his strength. She felt that he was a real man, and therefore she's going to him. While I was laying my head on his lap, he started to play with my hair and touching my face, neck, and upper chest area. I did not stop him. It felt good, and I was already in lust over this man the second I saw him. So as time went by, he started touching my stomach and pretty much every place that wasn't guarded by a chastity belt. I did not stop him. I just let him touch. I wanted him to touch me. He was very patient and did not push anything. I talk about this all the fucking time. But I could feel he was aggressive by the way he was touching me. I decided I was going to kiss him, so I got up and kissed him, and wow, did I feel the chemistry then. I could not believe the attraction I felt for this man. He was very patient and passionate, but also aggressive and dominant. I was dying to get this man inside of me, just dying, but I did not want to seem aggressive, so I let him do everything. But I did keep kissing him. I also started to touch him. I wanted to touch him. I wanted this man so bad I could not stand it. I never in a million years expected this before I went over to his house. Come on, honey. Come on now. Don't bullshit the coach. You knew exactly what you were thinking in the back of your mind. And I know you're sitting there right now on the fucking couch or at your computer and laughing while I'm saying this. Because you know I'm fucking right. I was so excited with this man touching me. He could have done anything he wanted and I would not have stopped him. In fact, it almost felt like one of those situations where if I would have tried to stop him at that point, I'm not so sure I could due to his passion and aggressiveness and my passion and submissiveness. She's totally submitting to him. Submitting to his strength. But I did not want him to stop. I loved every single thing he was doing to my body. It felt so good. I finally found a take charge man who did not treat me like a princess and was not afraid to make a move on me. This is something I have rarely experienced with a man. Well, you probably know what came next. Hot beef injection? I was getting what I wanted, which was this man deep inside of me kissing me. It was so strange for me because it felt so comfortable. I felt so comfortable being completely naked with this man. I was not afraid to touch him or let him explore my body. When we were having sex, my whole body was his. I mean, the control and the fact he acted like a take charge man excited me so much I could barely handle what was happening to me. We had sex for hours, but it was more than sex. It was passionate, dominant, and aggressive. He also likes to bite and suck, so I got a few marks on my body during that time. Nice. You got some souvenirs. But I also like to bite and suck, so it worked perfect, and I loved every minute of it. I also did not leave his house until 4 a.m. Were you walking like a duck for the next few days? I'm fucking terrible, I know. I just needed to find an alpha male who did not deal with my maybe bullshit and make me respect him. I have also called this man a couple of times since that night and sent a few texts. You were right about that also. The man doesn't need to do the work, and the woman will chase if she is attracted to him. Remember, women are only going to do this if you prove yourself to be worthy by acting like a fucking man. They're not going to chase a fucking beta male. He's the first man I have made an effort to call or text in over 6 years. I never call or text men. If they don't call or text me, they will never hear from me again. Well, your rules just pretty much went the fuck out the window because it sounds like you met yourself a 3% man. He called me 3 days after that night and told me he wanted to see me again and wanted to know when I could get together. It only took me 3 seconds to have a date set with a time and place. I was dying to see this man again at his house, of course. My idea, she says. When a woman is chasing you, she ain't going to get rid of you. And this is a beautiful story. Thank you so much for sharing this, because this was a great perspective from a woman who gives in and just lets a man completely have his way with her. So if you'd like to get my help personally, the quickest way is to book a paid phone, Skype, or email coaching session. You can choose any of those options by going to my website, clicking the products tab at the top of your screen, and follow the instructions for booking whichever option works best for you. And I will talk to you soon.